is going to be a bit interesting because all the system design interviews that you see on the internet, they are going essentially to this flow. All the other things that they are adding up are the addition, but the core of it is what you see on the screen right now. You have a user, you have a load balancer, then you have a ingress, which is nothing but your service discovery. And then ingress forwards the request to your services. So this completes the entire system design flow altogether. There is nothing, no less, no more to it on a top level. Additionally, you can do a lot of more thing if your application gets more complex that could be outside this image. For example, these are the internal things that we have. But if you want to connect to the third party application, you want to use Kibana, which is not in your cluster. Generally, it will be in your cluster, but any other thing which is not in your cluster but you want to use it, it's an external connection somewhere. If we talk about a user journey, so even if you have an e-commerce domain, automation domain, or any other thing, when I say automation, I meant actually automotive, just ignore that part. But end users will be using your application, and the call generally goes to your load balancer. You can also sometimes call it API gateway. API gateway internally has this feature of load balancing. If you build it like that, you can also use pre-existing API gateways like Nginx or Akamai for all these things. Oh, sorry, Akamai is a CDN, that's a different thing. But Nginx basically plays a reverse proxy in this scenario. And then what you see in the second number is the ingress controller. What is an ingress controller? It's a DevOps terminology wherein your services are mapped to IPs, and this has a service discovery logic. So it knows if the call comes to the service, I have to redirect the request to this particular IP internally. So all these are managed by the ingress. So consider this being an e-commerce website, and the call comes to search product. So user will request to the search product, and the call will go, let's say, API gateway slash product slash search, and then we have query equals iPhone. The call comes to load balancer. It does the authentication, authorization, and the call moves to the next layer, which is the ingress. Um, and then ingress knows it's a search service call. So it let's say service A is the search service call. So it forwards the call to the search service, and then the request response comes in, and the other flow gets to the user, wherein user receives the response. So overall, we see the microservices architecture and gateway are not two different things, but they are complementing each other. And gateway is very important in terms of a microservice architecture because it decouples a lot of logic from your microservices to deal it individually. For example, security is individually managed. If it's individually managed by each of the services, it becomes very complex and there can be missing parts across the services. So what API gateway is doing in this layer is it's decoupling that security logic and handling it all together alone, and also um managing how the load has to be distributed among the services. If you scale up, you can scale up the load balancing and gateway also. Depends on the scale that you have. But on top level, I think you have got the idea. So this is all for this video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.